Of all the gender inequalities we experience in the world, the imbalance in women's access to fertile land remains arguably the most shocking.
A very warm welcome to everyone who joins us today in this special edition of the Peace Drops for the Great Green Wall. Today is the 17th of June 2023, and we would like to honor the World Desertification and Drought Day. My name is Aneta, and I will be your host on behalf of the Brahma Kumaris. The Great Green Wall is a reforestation, land healing, peace, water restoration, and anti-poverty project spanning the entire African continent, from Senegal in the west to Djibouti in the east, nearly 8,000 kilometers. Originally conceived as a way to contain the growth of the Sahara Desert, it is not simply a wall of trees, but it is a complex mosaic of indigenous land use techniques for restoring life and livelihoods across the Sahel. The Brahma Kumaris wishes to support this great green wonder by spreading the word about it among the global community and by generating the collective energy of positivity, creativity, resilience, and peace. Everything what is required for the success of the Great Green Wall. The Brahma Kumaris started their Peace Drops for the Great Green Wall meditation initiative in June 2022, last year, with the aim to offer a spiritual perspective to this program of African Union and the UNCCD, and our contribution is twofold. We'd like to create an inner space for all who are engaged in the Great Green Wall project, where they can relax, recharge, and empower themselves so they can face any challenges coming their way. And we also would like to offer good vibrations for Mother Nature of the Sahel region, for her recovery and regeneration. One of the biggest obstacles to the Great Green Wall project is social strife. We've heard stories of young men who joined a terrorist group in the region. The men joined not out of any particular ideological commitment. They joined because they had not found any other way to be useful. Poverty, unemployment, disruption of traditional economies, migration to the cities. Everything contributes to a feeling of uselessness. And then the terrorist group steps into this vacuum meaning and puts these people to use. These violent groups present a huge obstacle to the greening and growing of the Sahel region. Another social barrier is related to the role and position of women who comprise nearly half of the world's agricultural force. They hold a vital stake in the health of land, and they also suffer the most when land is degraded. Yet, discriminatory practices related to land tenure, credit access, equal pay, decision-making often impede their active participation in sustaining land health. Today, less than 1 in 5 landholders worldwide are women. This year's Desertification and Drought Day put the global spotlight on women's land rights. Ahead of this year's Desertification and Drought Day, the UNCCD launched Her Land, a public awareness campaign to promote successful examples of women and girls' contributions to sustainable land management. June the 17th also marks 1 year of monthly episodes of the Peace Drops for the Great Green Wall. Within the last 12 months, we have explored and shared 27 values in the context of the Great Green Wall. And now I would like to remind everyone, and thus I will mention one by one. Please take a second and send energy of this value out to the Sahel region. So the values are peace, cooperation, hope, respect, responsibility, resilience, care, courage, compassion, unity, togetherness, patience, perseverance, appreciation, acceptance, gratitude, awareness, introspection, faith, determination, benevolence, simplicity, mercy, wisdom, encouragement, and enthusiasm. Aren't they wonderful? Today we are very happy that you are with us for this special edition, as we are to hear the stories of two wonderful women, contributing immensely to regenerating land and the whole communities, being inspiration to many women and men. One is Elham Mumuni, working with women's rights, afforestation, and land regeneration, and the other is Priyanka, who works in the driest area of India, in Kutch area, which is very similar to many places in the Sahel. She would love to demonstrate how we can shift the spiral of erosion into the spiral of abundance with our love, care, and positive vibrations. So we invite you for these moments of personal reflection. Please be with us and let's together co-create a beautiful, abundant, prosperous Sahel community. Please enjoy. Thank you.
In every corner of the world, filling this gender gap remains an unfinished business.
As an African woman, as a woman from the Sahel, to me, we have to create a dream that inspires them to make a change in the region.
Women don't have right to access, to use, and to own land. They don't have access to credit. We don't have the right equipment to process the true product we are harvesting.
The Great Green Wall is a symbol of hope because it answers to so many different issues that are tied to climate change, education, forced migration, and also armed conflict. Women actually on the ground are the backbones of the Great Green Wall. All along the Great Green Wall, I've seen amazing, inspiring women doing the work that is going to transform their communities, their country, the continent. What gives me hope is the people. It's it's really, they change the face of any project. People are so resilient, so strong. They want to make a change. They want to take their destiny into their own hands.
Thank you for being with us, Elham. Can you tell me a little bit about the kind of work that you do in women's rights and land regeneration, reforestation, those kinds of things?
Yes. Thank you so much, Debbie. It's a privilege to be part of this process again. Yes, for my work on the women's rights, land, and then reforestation, it began when I was growing up in the Upper West region, where I witnessed a lot of women exclusion to fertile farmlands, injustice, and then discrimination. So it's been a passion as a young girl growing up that I want to do something about it. I would have to, highlight these issues so that we can get support to address them. So we moved to Accra in 1997, and then I went to the Ghana Institute of Journalism, where I studied public relations and advertising. So I felt that this has grounded me so well to be able to highlight the issues of women and girls in the Upper West region. So I worked as a journalist. Then my main focus was on the women's rights issues in Ghana. So from there, I moved to work with the Center for Indigenous Knowledge and Organizational Development, CICOD, where I had the privilege to partner with the Coady Institute and then to support to implement the women leadership for economic empowerment and food security in Ghana, specifically in northern Ghana. I was privileged to work with the Rural Women Farmers Association of Ghana, Widows and Orphans Movement in the Upper West East region, and then also the Senegal Women for Portrait and Arts. All this in an effort, one, to support food security for female-headed household. My focus was more on widows, on then women farmers, and then on female-headed household around issues of access to fertile farmlands, and then also around regeneration of farmlands, and then around reforestation in these areas. So through the work that we did, the fruits were bare. We bore a lot of fruits, and then were able to support these women through research into most of the agri value chain. Mostly we have crops like groundnut that is termed as gender-friendly crops, and then we also have cowpea and other crops that these women were able to farm, and then they didn't just sell off to the market. They also, based on the support that was given by CICOD and the Coady Institute, they were able to add value to most of this farm produce. And then through that, they were able to have, we also negotiated for access to land. So they were able to have access to farmlands to farm. And then also they were able to undertake a lot of afforestation activities on their farmlands. So it's been a journey of over 20 years working on women's rights and then advancing gender equality. So I didn't just stop there. I realized that in such spaces, policy matter a lot. So I moved to the national level so that I can influence policies around women access to land. I can influence policies around advancing gender equality, around gender planning and budgeting, and then also to join the feminist movement so that we can advocate for women's access to land. Yeah.
What would be one good example of where their worldview and the indigenous knowledge that sets within every individual helped restore the land? Is there a technique or set of methods that they described that you then were able to put in practice?
I remember growing up with my grandmother in the Upper West region, where she was a farmer, a peasant farmer. Of course, farming mainly to feed her family, because a lot of us were growing up with her. And then you follow her to the farm, and then you would observe that she has different crops. She would have beans here, she would have pepper, she would have tomatoes, she would have corn here, she would also have cowpea, but observing her, it didn't make any meaning to me. So until I went to JSS, where we were taught about mixed cropping, intercropping, water conservation, and then using animal manure for farming practices. Then it made sense that, so maybe with what my grandmother was doing, this means that was intercropping. And then the other means that was mixed cropping. And the other mean that making mulch around some of the crops meant that she was trying to conserve water, so that for crops that needed more water, they can get more water. So for me, those are indigenous techniques that we have used over and over again. But again, because over the years, policy have not recognized this and then have not put a name to it, we always ignore this. And then moving to work with the Rural Women Farmers Association of Ghana and other farmers movements in Ghana, I also noticed that and observed that a lot of them were doing similar practices where they are looking at water conservation, and they understand the crops that needed water. They also understand the crop that would give out nitrogen to the soil and all of that. So yes, so these are indigenous techniques that people have farmed with over the years. So it's high time that we look at how we can combine both local and indigenous knowledge in terms of farming practice, and also in terms of seed preservation, vis-a-vis looking at the conventional way of supporting farmers, so that it would come to a term that we've often used, endogenous development, where we look at looking at internally within the knowledge systems that we have, but also taking appropriate external resources and knowledge so that we are able to advance in this regard. So over the years, women have been known to be custodian of our indigenous farming practice, and they would always exhibit it on their farms, and then also in terms of seed selection, and then also seed preservation. Currently there are discussions around genetically modified seeds and all of that. It's because we haven't consulted extensively with our women folks in the Sahel region, so that we are able to learn from them.
So what you've described sounds to me like there are, starting with your grandmother, her grandmother, and the one before, that there are generations of women who have been known to be the custodians of good practices for sustainable land management. They've been there. Is there anything we need to do now? I hear you saying there needs to be a voice at the table every time we're talking about food and land management. Is there anything that you feel we should be doing, could be doing, to ensure that the rights of women, the knowledge they have, is being used to support a sustainable land management and food security?
Yes, there's a lot we should be doing now. For example, around women access to fertile farmlands, because in one of our advocacy, one of the key things they would do is that when you put so much pressure on clan heads, land-owning clan heads and family heads, they will allocate unfertile lands to these women to farm. And sometimes through the indigenous techniques, they will turn this land into fertile land. But because there's no documentation, there's no terms of reference, there's no contract between them, once they see that the land is becoming a bit fertile, then they'll move them again to another unfertile land. So what we did with SICOD was to develop a biocultural protocol of access to land in the LoRa districts.
Beautiful. I think, your description of what is able to happen, what has happened, the involvement of so many different organizations at different levels, the international cooperation you've had, seeing policies changing, seeing the voice of women's experience being brought into it. these are all things that require a lot of energy. I want to move now to this idea that the Peace Drops initiative brought to the Great Green Wall initiative of the UN. And there are so many people involved in so many projects. They wanted, much like what you're describing, they wanted to create a space where people who were doing this work could just recharge, could stop for a moment and maybe get some refreshment with others who are doing similar work, maybe through reflection, maybe through prayer, maybe through meditation. Do you think there's a place for that kind of thing in this kind of work? And if so, why?
Of course, yes. We need spaces like the Peace Drops, whose clear interest and mandate is to create an inner space for engagement. And then for me, this will bring about diversity, this will bring about inclusion, this will bring about intersectionality, and this will provide a global safe space for all of us to dialogue on common grounds.
So we're talking about women and girls and the work that they have to do to be brought into the discussions, and having the safe place helps. I'm thinking about the biggest woman of all, Mother Earth, and what's all the fires and floods and things that have happened that in the Sahel, it's drought. So when you think about sharing good vibrations with others to support Mother Earth for recovery and regeneration, do you think these kinds of safe spaces and opportunities to focus on Mother Earth are valuable?
They are. For example, in southern Ghana, Mother Earth is termed as Asasiya, which means land is female. So we believe that in Ghana, land is female. And then for females, as our biological makeup says, you need to tender it with care. And then over the years, I think we have been unfair to Mother Earth. We have not treated Mother Earth as a living being. You just walk on us, and then we make all kind of decisions, especially with the bigger multinational companies that comes in to disturb her peace. For example, you have large-scale mining, illegal mining happening currently in Ghana. We call it galamsey. You have large-scale mining happening. You have quarries. We make all kind of decisions just thinking about us as humans, without recognizing that we need to preserve Mother Earth for 7 generations. Do we treat Mother Earth for the 7 generations that will come to us? So I believe that what the Peace Drop is doing is one aspect of ensuring that we live for ourselves, and we're also living for 7 generations behind us. If you don't treat Mother Earth, I think Mother Earth now currently is angry with all of us. It's angry with all of us. So let's start with the work of the Peace Drop to ensure that we sensitize our communities that land is a living thing, and then it's infinite. It's not an infinite thing. What the space we have, we can't have more than the space we have. There's no way we can increase the land we have. So how best can we use it so that it doesn't suffer, and then we would all suffer as women and then as humans?
When you think about creating this kind of world where we have no more suffering, that there's harmony, there's a way of working together, all these organizations, all the different families, the different clans that have to come together for marriage, etc. And we want to create a peaceful world for 7 generations and more. What would be 2 or 3 values or principles that you think would be important to teach each other, teach our children, work in that way? What would be some values and principles that will help?
So for me, a beautiful world would mean inclusiveness. It will mean diversity. It will also mean that being mindful of the way we use our natural resources, especially the land that we have, so that we are able to live a meaningful life, and then we are also able to live for generations unborn. So those are the three key things that I would want to see: inclusiveness, diversity, and being intentional about the way we use our natural resources.
Beautiful, Elham.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this.
Today, let us focus our attention on the courageous heart of women everywhere, but in particular of those women of the African Sahel region who are working tirelessly to rebuild the ecosystems of that region. May they have the strength of mind, and may they be determined to get on in their lives. Right now, wherever you are, center yourself in your inner space of stillness. Move your attention away from dominating and influential people that stand in the way of you achieving the fullness of your rights. Leave behind everything that holds you back and travel on with courage and determination. As you gain in confidence, every step you move is a step towards self-respect and truth. Your courage, your confidence are making you stronger moment by moment. See only success ahead. Know that success is your birthright. Every scene on your path to success is viewed through the attitude of learning. As you negotiate your surroundings, see beauty in everything and in everyone. Remain true to yourself, free to continue along your path of truth and righteousness. You stand tall in your convictions that you can make a change and that you can impact change in your environment. Stand tall in your courage and determination that difficulties and obstacles that come just fade out as quickly as they appear. You now have clarity in your mind, and so your activities are now more purposeful, and success is guaranteed. Take a deep breath now and prepare yourself to return to this moment wherever you are. Return with the courage and determination to succeed firmly planted in your heart. Om Shanti.
So on this year's Desertification and Drought Day, we are mobilizing the international community in support of women's land rights. support of human rights, in support of more equality and more dignity in the world.
Let's take a few moments to meditate on the power of peace. Take a deep breath and relax. Let thoughts of the day slow down and be put on hold for some time. Breathe. Consider peace not as something outside, but as something inside. Imagine a space, a place inside your head that looks like a shady spot under a mango tree. A single chair is sitting there, inviting you to come and sit for a moment. You recline comfortably in the chair and feel ever so softly a cool breeze blowing across your face. Dappled sunlight filters into where you are sitting in this well-known, beautiful space. It is quiet. No one else is around, and you're able to simply be with yourself for a few moments. You admire the strength and the vitality the tree demonstrates, and observe the many, many fruits that will soon be ripe. You feel the love and generosity the tree exhibits as it will freely share its produce with others. You recognize the wisdom the tree must hold, having witnessed many years passing by, and the patience it's shown for absorbing the right amount of water and sunlight and nutrients from the soil. In this moment, relaxed, quiet, and at peace under the shade of the tree, you realize you are like the tree. You are strong and vital. You are wise and patient. You are loving and generous. You can discern how much to take in to grow. You can accommodate the needs and cooperate with others by sharing the fruits of your work and actions. And you know when, like in these moments, you can withdraw for a time and find peace and recharge. You are a peaceful and powerful soul. You are a peaceful and powerful soul. And as you sit and absorb this energy, you know that you'll be able to leave the quiet and the beauty of your seat under the mango tree, because you know you'll be able to return to it at any time. Sit and drink in this powerful, peaceful energy. And when you're ready, return to where you are now. Return knowing you have the strength and the power inside to contribute to the well-being of yourself, your family, your community, and bigger initiatives. You are a peaceful, powerful soul.
Thank you very much for spending your valuable time with us. We'd like to congratulate from our hearts all who participate in any way in this great green wonder. We will keep contributing with an invitation for personal reflection and values sharing monthly. And if you'd had any ideas, if you'd like to contribute, if you would have any suggestions, please do let us know. For us, the Great Green Wall project is truly the Great Green Wonder, and we feel honored and humbled to be able to add our drops of peace to the success of this project. And now I'd like to propose that we finish with a moment of silence, and together, here and now, we'll send our drops of peace to every human being, every living being, to all elements of nature in the Sahel region. We share our respect, gratitude, and good wishes. Thank you very much. And I just now would like to share my good wishes with every one of you and invite you for a session next month. So till then, all the best and greetings of peace.
Desertification and Drought Day, we are mobilizing the international community in support of women's land rights. support of human rights, in support of more equality and more dignity in the world,